passing such visions is very dependent on the economic, on the political environment of the time. It is noted that even Vision 2030 was rolled out in the second term of President Mwai Kibaki's tenure as president. Right now, we're in a very politically charged season. A year, actually less than a year, 362 days to the next election. If you see the picture on the front page of the Star, this could be said to be one side of the political divide. Is it sufficient to drive such a conversation from a one-sided political angle?
First, I want to start by contradicting you a bit. I think Kenyans should be given a little more credit. We understand and we understood Vision 2030. When Vision 2030 was launched, I was in Kenyatta University, and I remember the conversations. I was a student leader at that time. I remember the conversations coming down to the youth in campus, and there was time. It was not a rushed vision. There was time for consultation, and we actually took part in that consultation and shaping the vision. That said, 2008 was also coming from a very politically charged time in our country. So I don't think it's impossible to drive a vision that can unite Kenyans during a politically charged season. However, the process of driving that vision, during Kibaki's first term, he did a lot of consultation, had a strategy for revitalizing, the economy. Then that strategy was broken down into sectors. There was a strategy for revitalizing agriculture. And it's through those processes that, that feedback was actually feeding into the Vision 2030. So I think there was a true effort to make sure, yes, we brought the Mugo Kibatis, these alliance boys, people, Akina Betty Maina, but then it wasn't just an elite, professor committee. There was efforts to consult truly people from all sectors of the economy before the vision was launched. So I have serious questions about the president launching a vision and then starting a conversation after and even setting up a committee to drive it after he's already stated the fact that, number one, the idea isn't bad, but it might be rejected because people do not, want to support him or anything that comes from him at this point. Yeah. So he might have a brilliant idea which he would sabotage just by way of how he goes about it politically.
I'll take you back to 2008, and after the events of the elections of that time, there was this pull for everyone to come together, to reconcile the country. And probably the conversation then was more of a unified conversation around the country. Yet, starting this conversation a year to elections, probably even just by the face of it on the front page of the Star, meaning that there's a whole group that's not part of this conversation.
Exactly, and that,
what does that mean? And
that group is majority youth. Like the young boy said, in yesterday's speech, the Gen Z today would be in their 50s, 60s. Those are the people who should be driving the conversation. Those are the people who are at loggerheads with the government right now. And not just with the government, there's currently an intergenerational war at the moment. Ask, the gentlemen in the room and even yourselves, if you have children, if you have young people, right now they don't trust the older generation, and with good reason. We have people who benefited from, free education, benefited from the famous boom, passing policies in education that are making it harder and harder to afford education. Today, we've been promised free education for very many years. In 2008, Kibaki had already implemented free education. So Vision 2030 was on the back of, we have this generation that is going to be highly educated. Where do we take them? Let me give you an example using President Ruto's own, project of shipping Kenyans to Germany for jobs. 2 years after that project was launched in 2024, there was a review. In Germany, this was a project that was being implemented by the two governments, the Kenyan and the German government. employers were asked about, you know, the rate at which they were absorbing those Kenyans. And remember, Kenyans, these were techies, yeah, that were going there. And Germany had already declared that they have a deficit, still do have a deficit of technology and ICT talent. And the employers were like, hey, Kenyans we know when it comes to running marathons, but we don't know Kenyans as techies. We are not publishing anything meaningful in our universities. So we are not actually, we know we are good because of launching M-Pesa and all these apps, but are we actually good in international standards?
Right.
You might be good, but you also have to play by the rules that make you claim some of that success. So we are not publishing. We are also known internationally for writing people's papers. So Kenyans are known for cheating, helping the world to cheat in exams. German employers know that. So they're like, we do not understand the ethics of the young people that we are being given to work for us. That also became a disadvantage factor. And then thirdly, the curriculum that is being taught. IT is not just IT. Right now, we should be churning out people who understand how to train language models. You know, so we have these young people sitting along Mombasa Road, training ChatGPT and all these open AI things. But what are the youth in universities pursuing degrees in ICT being taught?
Right.
So we do not also have adequate updating of our academia to be able to churn out people who can actually get jobs. And that is supposed to be at the tail end of Vision 2030. So if we can't get that right, there's still questions around our education and the quality and the policy of also data protection. How are we going to start a conversation on 2063?
Allow me to welcome Bwana Kamwere to this conversation.